Hey everybody, it's Guru, and this episode is kind of a mini episode. Um, it's a serious episode. A lot of my episodes with other people, we get, we like to entertain, but every now and then you want to put down onto audio something serious, something that's been, you know, you want to talk about, and I want to kind of share some things with you. And I want to talk about death, and I want to more specifically, I want to talk about death when you have to deal with the loss of a sibling. So there's, when a sibling passes, whatever the circumstance, there's always a shock. There's these stages you go through, denial, bargaining, anger, finally acceptance, DAB, I think it's called. And for some people, it happens very quickly. Others, it takes months and years even, where you live in this kind of shock. And it's okay. It's okay. We're all different. There is no correct way to deal with the mourning of the loss of someone, whether it be a sibling or anyone. And specifically when you lose a sibling, and my siblings who I lost, they were older than me. They were older, about 15 years, 20 years older than me. So when I was young, I would see them, and then as I got older, I had more of a relationship with them. So I grew up with them in the sense that they helped raise me at times. They guided me, and they were a lot like mentors. And I think siblings, whether a lot of times you have older siblings, they are mentors because they help you, they guide you. And my sister who passed in 2016, she was like my mentor. She was my confidant. She was like my best friend next to my wife. And when I lost her, and it was over a period of a few years, we knew she was sick and she went through some health issues and it just deteriorated. But when it happened, and before it happened, you always say, "Listen, I want another month. I want another 2 months, another 3 months." You hope. And when it happened, it was like, that was it, the finality of it. And then learning to deal with it, and learn to continue to deal with the loss of someone that you talk to constantly. And then of course you always look and say, "Well, maybe I could have done more. Maybe some things could have been done differently." Sometimes you lose a sibling for health reasons. Sometimes it just happens. And you always say, well, what could I have done to prevent it? What could I have done to extend this person's life so you can continue? And again, at the end of the day, it's just, you can say God's will, fate, whatever. So, when you deal with the loss of a sibling, like I said, they're no longer there. I posted something on Instagram, you speak it to the ether. Because you know, I don't I don't hear that voice anymore. There's no calls. The calls don't come in anymore. And I lost my brother during the COVID, about 2021 or 2020. It was 2021, early 2021. And he would call me every so often and we'd talk. And he was sick. He had some issues, mental issues. And you wish you could have helped. I wish I could have helped him more. I knew what he was going through, but I didn't completely know. You think you're like, okay, you'll be fine, don't worry, you know what you have to do, just don't worry, don't fight. And mental health is serious. And like I said, it's a shock. And again, I've dealt with them differently. With my older sister who passed, you know she was like a mother figure with me, and I still come to grips with it every year, her birthday, or the anniversary of her death. It hurts. It hurts. And my brother, again, it was kind of a slow spiral into that. it happened over a number of months, and finally, my mother had to make a decision and let him go. And this was something that we grappled with for almost a month. And I didn't see my sister go. I was driving back um, from where I lived because I was with her the night before. I stayed with her the whole night. And driving back, you know, I went and slept the night, and the next morning I got up. I said, "Let me go back and spend some more time with her." And she passed. And I always remember looking out before I got in the car and left. And they didn't call. Nobody called me and told me. I think they knew. And I just noticed the sky was beautiful. It was a beautiful sky. It had a certain look to it. And I think it was her telling me, waving goodbye to me. My so I when I got there, she had already passed. My brother, he was in a coma and there was no activity, and we my mom had to make the decision, and I can't believe how strong she continues to be, and she made the decision to let him go. And we watched him, and again, he was not awake, he was unconscious, and we don't even know if he had any brain activity. They said they didn't have brain activity. They had been running tests, and he had complications with COVID, and he had a self-inflicted injury. Um, so we slowly watched him go, and it was surreal because during the COVID, you couldn't, in the hospitals, you couldn't be next to them. He was in the ICU, and it was covered, and everyone wore masks, and we saw him from the outside. We couldn't be in there with him. You know, you know. I know, and it's funny. My brother was with my sister. The one they passed. He was with her probably maybe a few hours before she passed. He was there with her, comforting her. So, you know, that's the only regret I have, that we weren't there. I wasn't there for my sister to be with her. And my brother, we were there, but we really weren't there. We were on the other side of the door, the ICU door, to see him slip away. And it's just tough. So, like I said, how do you deal with a loss of a sibling, or in anyone in general? You deal with it by, you live, number one, and you stay positive. You remember the good times, and initially you roll with these waves. Like with my sister, I would have these waves of just uncontrollable crying and just sadness, and then I would, you'd cry it out, you'd be fine, and then you continue on, you live your, and of course we have our lives to live. I have my son, my wife, so you live. You have to live on. You can't just throw yourself into the abyss and say it's over. I can't deal with this anymore. You have to continue to live. You have to live for others. And it got better with my sister over time, but it comes in waves. Like I said, birthdays, holidays are, and I could see why holidays are really bad for some people. There's a lot of depression because that's usually when everyone's together. And as you get older, you realize those holidays aren't the same because you don't have people there that you were there growing up with, and you lose family members, and then you just, the gatherings are getting smaller and smaller, or the families are going on their own separate ways. So, with my brother, he passed, and again, it was kind of surreal. It was kind of like, you always feel like, oh, he's gonna call, or maybe you feel like he's still there. But I saw him go. Um, so you just live, and you take in the sadness. You don't, I always say I don't try to hide it. I will wear a mask. I cover up my sadness sometimes, but when I'm alone or when I'm driving, like right now, yeah, that's when you let it out. Um, then you feel a little bit better. Um, Also, I think dreams. I inadvertently every now and then I would dream of my sister. I've yet to dream of my brother. So that's troubling to me because I really do feel like dreams are kind of like, say, portals or the way they can send you messages. And I've had some good dreams with my sister. I've had some dreams where I felt like she was in a lot of pain. But with my brother, I really haven't had anything, and I don't. It bothers me. It bothers me because when I lost my grandmother, I was very, and she was old. She was in her 90s, and God bless her. She was ready. We knew it was time. But you always wonder. You're like, hey, are you are you okay? And I would love to get a sign, some sign. You know. And one night I was driving home. And I asked out loud. I said, please, I asked my grandmother, please, can you please give me a sign that you're okay, that I know that you're at peace. And at that point, a light came on in my car. I've never seen one there before. I've never seen it again. And it was like, oh wow, she's telling me she's fine. And I felt better. I really felt better. I felt like, okay, Abuela, you're good. You're good. So I don't know if that's gonna happen for each of you. Any of you guys that feel like you need that closure, you know, maybe you get it, maybe you don't. For my grandmother, I got it. I got it. I mean, but my sister, I really, you know, obviously she wasn't ready to go, and she let us know in her way. My brother, he he couldn't handle it. He couldn't handle the situation he was in, and he, what happened, and I just that's the big unknown. So you want to ask, maybe they'll talk back to you in your dreams. But I've always been told sometimes it's not good to ask for the dead or people that have moved on because you keep them from moving on to that next place. And I have faith, but I'm not religious in the sense that I read the Bible or I believe in all the different stories, or I believe in faith. I believe that we're good, and we provide good onto others, and God good should be provided unto us, but it's also bad. So whatever happens after we're gone, I really don't. You hear everybody says, oh, there's heaven and hell, and you be with your family. I don't know. I would hope that is the case. So when we finally move on, when we pass on, we're reunited with them. I would love for that to be true. I don't know that to be true. And it's not, and that's just me coming from someone who thinks logically and reason. My father raised me to be that way. Watch, read, look, you know, put things together. Don't just blindly believe in things. You have to kind of take things apart and understand it, and then you make a decision. So I would hope that they're moved on. But when you call for them, some people say that you keep them from moving on, and they have to be at peace. So early on, when you lose someone, sibling, family member, whoever, you're going to be wanting to talk to them. You're going to be asking for them because you hurt, you're in pain. You want that one last interaction with them. And we all, it would be great to say, hey, listen, this is the last time you're ever going to talk to this person. So you can maybe talk to them about certain things. Maybe if you were fighting, maybe you had a fight. I can remember having an argument with my sister a week before she passed. It involved my mom, and she sent me a voicemail. And and it was like that was like the last time I really really talked to her. And it was kind of like, wow, we were kind of fighting. So you hate to end something when someone leaves you. You hate to end like that. That's why I always, when I leave, I say I love you to my wife and my son before they go to work, at school, because you don't know. You don't know. We don't know. Could be it. Anytime. So, just summarizing, you never really get over the loss of a sibling because, again, you were raised with them, you went through things with them, They know your secrets, you know theirs, and then that's no longer there. So you don't no longer have that confidant. They know. I always say with siblings, they, like with my sister, she knew my mom. She and my brother too, but we knew how my mom was. Like we could always confide in each other because we were raised by my mother, different father, but same mother. So it's like we knew how to talk about things. We could talk things out. We were always there for each other. And with them being gone, and I have an older sister, another sister. But we're not as close as I was to my the ones who passed. But you always had that conversation, and you miss that because you can't really get out what you need to get out about that person, and kind of talk things through, and they can talk to you. So I miss that, and I know when you lose a sibling, you're gonna miss that too. And hopefully you learn to deal with it, like I have, and I continue. But you don't want it to manifest it in a negative way. You don't want to use it like I remember when my sister passed. For a while, I was drinking a little more. Just it numbed me a little bit, and I didn't go crazy, mind you, but it was something that I did just to kind of deal with the loss, that sunken feeling. But you don't want to fall too deep into that hole because it's not going to help you, especially when you have family members that you have responsibilities, and you don't want your kids to see you doing that, your family. So, you know, again, I'm not saying don't do it. I'm not saying it's not something you should do because, alcohol and other drugs sometimes they help short term, but long term it's not gonna change it. It may numb it for a while, but you have to learn how to deal with things. Roll with the punches. I always say people I have there's a reason God gave me broad shoulders, you know, and a wide back because I can handle more. So sometimes you just got to be able to handle things and deal with it your own way, constructively. Talk to people. Find other people that will listen to you. Or in this case, like with me, I'm recording this, putting it on an episode for the fam, because I think it's something that people need to, if they've never gone through this before. And some of the people that listen to this podcast are younger, and they maybe have not dealt with death, um, like I have the last few years. I lost my grandfather when I was 6, and or maybe a little bit older, and a lot of my cousins didn't go to the funeral. I did. Me and a couple other of us, we went. I had never dealt with death before, and to see my grandfather, and it was something that I'm glad I did because I got to say goodbye. And you never really are ready for it. You're just not. You just deal with it. You roll with the punches. You deal with the waves of like I said, the sadness, the anger, the hopelessness, the the constant thoughts of everything that you've gone through with that person. But at some point, you got to move on. You get up, and there's a song by God, the artist escapes me, but it's in from the City of Angels, and and if you guys have seen it, it's the scene at the very end. If you got, and I'm sorry if I'm going to give away the plot, but in the City of Angels, there's this angel. He watches this other woman, and he wants to eventually meet her and get with her because he's so enamored with her, watching her as an angel. So he becomes a fallen angel. He falls in love with her, and then at the very end of the movie, they go out, or she gets up one morning early and goes to the market to get fruits. And this is like in the Pacific Northwest, so she's riding the bike and he's still sleeping, and she goes in, buys whatever she's gonna buy, and as she's leaving, she's riding back, and she's just enjoying life because she's realizing she finally found someone. And at that moment, she was struck and killed. Now he finds out, obviously, and he deals with the grief, and then he goes to the same market, and I'm probably changing some things about it, but the point is, he goes to the market and he just remembers picking those fruits that he knew that the girl that he was with, and there's a song. It's called "I Grieve" by Peter Gabriel, and then that song I listened to um, every now and then, because that song is kind of like the cycle that you go through. That it starts out with the beginning. It's a slow beginning, and it talks about how, what's going on, and you're losing that someone, and then the middle of the song, it's like you grieve. That's the time where you're gonna cry. You're gonna let it out, and then after you let it out, the last part of the song, it's more whimsical. It's more a celebration of life and just a celebration of moving on and living. You need to live. You need to live. But it always kind of reminds you, hey, you've lost, but you're gonna live. So it's an amazing song. Those of you that have ever, if just listen to it, and I'm saying it's an emotional song because I do play it at times, just so I can get the different emotions out. It's called "I Grieve" by Peter Gabriel. Okay, it was on the City of Angels soundtrack. And again, for me, it's just one of those songs that I listen to every now and then to kind of deal with these days. When I'm remembering of someone that I've lost. So yeah, so that's you just deal with it, you live with it. You remember the good times and you roll with the punches. So again, I hope this helps some of you out there that listen to this podcast. It's a serious one. If you've listened to the whole thing, I hope this helped you. If you've shed a tear, but I hope you got some insight and you learn a little bit about me, how I've dealt with the loss of someone. And like I said, just be there. Be there for that. Be there for your family. Be there for other people. Because again, we've all been there, and we're all gonna be there, whether in one way, shape, or the other. It doesn't loss of a loved one does not evade us. Okay, unless you totally detach yourself from everyone, you're gonna lose people in your life, and you have to be able to handle it. Okay, so thanks for listening, Guru. I'm Guru Fam 305. I'm out.